Video I'm going to talk about why we are living in the Terence Crawford era and why Terence Crawford is the best fighter in the sport of boxing. Stick around and watch this groovy intro. So when I look at the pound for pound list, and the pound for pound list is typically an intelligence test of who really wants to puff up their chest and be boxing expert guys, a bunch of kind of either nerds or super fans who basically say this is really a list of my favorite current fighters. There's so many different ways you could look at a pound for pound list, distinguish it. For me, really, the way I look at a pound for pound list is a few things. I look at who I think is the toughest fighter to fight, who has the best wins on paper, and I also look at have they tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs, or have there been speculation around that stuff in a valid capacity? Those are things that weigh people down if they have those. Also, being a multi-division world champion means a lot to me. So, let's go into this video. It could be a short video, it could be a long video. To me, right now, after Terence Crawford did what he did to Errol Spence Jr., it is pretty obvious Terence Crawford is the best fighter in the world. And pretty much, I think he's in this top 20, top 15 all-time great list. I think that he's a historic boxer of all time. He's up there with Floyd Mayweather's. He's up there with the Manny Pacquiao's. He's up there with the Sugar Ray Leonard's. He is one of the best boxers I have ever seen. We are living in an era that will be remembered as Crawford's era. And from this point on, I think he's going to get the respect that he deserved, that people never gave to him, that giggled. Crawford's a superstar. Crawford is a legend. He beat a great fighter and demoted a great fighter, like how Calzaghe did to Jeff Lacey, like many others that I referenced in a previous video that I put out. That's what Crawford did. Crawford is the best fighter currently, at least to me, perception-wise. And the number 2 spot, it's the guy that I used to think was the best fighter in the world. That's Naoya Inoue. Inoue's a 4-division world champion. I get the criticism. Some people, who has he fought? Well, you just don't know who he's fighting. You're telling on yourself. Stephen Fulton was the best guy in the division. Yes, Stephen Fulton hadn't been at the highest level of the sport for that long in the world championship capacity, but he was the best guy in the division. He moves up, knocks out Stephen Fulton. Before that, undisputed bantamweight division. He's beating all the world champions, and guess what? More than likely, 2 of the world champions after Emmanuel Rodriguez fights Melvin Lopez. That's more than likely going to be, in a way, beating 2 champions to earn his belt. Dominant in 108, dominant in 115. He didn't fight Chocolatito Estrada because I think that would have taken too long politically, and he just moves up in divisions. Inoue, number 2. Oleksandr Usyk sits in my number 3 spot. Usyk used to be number 1 guy. What he's doing, winning every belt on the road, a cruiserweight and a heavyweight. I did get good confirmation from my friend that made me move him down a little bit. Usyk a little unproven at heavyweight. Joshua's a decent win, but let's be honest, Joshua's a little bit of a fabrication of the system. We saw a little bit of promotional money and promotional muscle built up Joshua to a certain thing. Still a great fighter, tremendous will to be a competitor and a will to win, but he's not the same type of fighter as a Fury and an Usyk. And I also think that if he were to fight Wilder, he's probably going to get hit with a big right hand, and we know how that plays out. He's created a great emotional attachment with the fans where people will watch this and get frustrated. He's fought fighters in a certain way where on paper it looks good, but he's always had every physical advantage, promotional advantage. Usyk beat every cruiserweight in the modern era, and Usyk also moved up to heavyweight, beat Joshua, beat him twice. One time he beat him in England, going on the road to win. Usyk's a special fighter, up there with Evander Holyfield as the best cruiserweight ever. I think he's better than Holyfield. He has more dimensions. More than likely, he probably beats Holyfield. A lot of people get mad because they look at nostalgia and what they grew up on is the best and better than what they're seeing right now. That's just my opinion. In number 4 spot, I got Dmitry Bivol sitting at 4, and he probably should be higher, but he's moving down through inactivity. Bivol beat Canelo Alvarez in a fight where he had to fight the system, and he probably wasn't supposed to win. Dmitry Bivol getting that big win, being a long-term, long-reigning WBA light heavyweight champion, good effective style, got that pullback counter. I think he's bordering on all-time great, too. He just needs the opposition. Last year, he beats Canelo, Zordo, Ramirez. Those are 2 good wins. That leads into my number 5 guy, which is Artur Beterbiev. He also sits at the light heavyweight division. He's also won every fight by knockout. Bivol doesn't win all of his fights by knockout. Bivol's more of a boxer. They're in the same weight class. We need Bivol Beterbiev to make sense. Yes, one guy will probably get demoted out of the top 10 of the sport, but that is boxing. To make sense and figure out who is the dominant fighter of this era, we need to see that fight. Artur Beterbiev, a really good fighter. He's coming back in a few weeks. He's fighting Callum Smith. Beterbiev's getting up there in age. I believe he's about 38 years old. So we need to see him versus Bivol soon, or else Beterbiev's going to be out of the sport, I think, pretty soon based on age, as we just saw this weekend with Nonito Donaire. The 6th guy on my list used to be my number 1 guy 2 years ago, but he's had 2 irrelevant fights, and he's having another irrelevant fight with Francis Ngannou, which is incredibly boring, and no one really needs to watch it unless you're a super hardcore fan of Fury or you're a fan of Ngannou. It's just going to be Fury just outclassing Ngannou, who has no chance in this fight because he isn't a world-class boxer. He's a great MMA fighter. It's Tyson Fury. He's sitting at number 6. He might be the best heavyweight of all time, but he's really delaying the sport. We need to see Fury and Usyk to decide who is the best of those, and that would create a guy that's up there with Crawford and Inoue as the 2 best guys. We need those 2 fights to happen so we can have a tier 1 of the sport, of the pound-for-pound list, which would be Crawford, Inoue, winner of Bivol Beterbiev, winner of Usyk Fury. Those would be the Mount Rushmore 4 of the sport of boxing currently. My perception at number 7, unpopular opinion, but I think Juan Francisco Estrada deserves more credit and should be ranked up there. Yes, Estrada has some sketchy performances. He fought down to the level of composition against Argy Cortez. I believe it was Argy Cortez. But Estrada holds 2 wins over Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez. He beat a better version of Rungvisai than many others had beaten after. He's got the big wins. He just doesn't really fight all that often, and I feel like a majority of people are never really that thrilled when he fights. His fights aren't event viewing, and that hurts his standing on these type of lists. But I've got Estrada sitting at number 7. He's a very talented fighter. There's not really a ton to say, and I think what really hurts him in terms of a historical and a ranking standing is he fights down to his level of competition. He fights up to his competition. He looks great in the great fights, and he looks bad in the stay busy fights. At 8, I got Jermell Charlo, undisputed 154-pound champion. He's fought in kind of an uninteresting division, but he's fought everyone that's out there. He's been a long-reigning dominant champion, and he's a very, very good fighter. And I think that that deserves acknowledgement as well. So now the 9 and 10 is kind of tricky. 9 and 10, who do you pick? Well, I don't have a 9 and 10 right now. And you might go, what do you mean? Because you could fit Spence into 9 and 10, but really to me, we got to see how he bounces back, because Spence might never be the same guy, but Spence could occupy 9 and 10. His achievements are great, but now he doesn't have belts. I'd kind of prefer to put him outside of the top 10, so he has to work his way back in. It's just the nature of the beast. Shakur Stevenson looks like he should be in a 9 or 10 spot. He's a 2-division world champion, but he doesn't currently hold a belt. Can a non-world champion be in your top 10? Devin Haney holds all the belts, and he's doing historic things. He should probably be there, yet there's still some unanswered questions. The Lomachenko fight was close. That was close. We need a question answered. Gervonta Davis, he's looking the part of a star. He is a star. He has a sneaky good resume that people never give him credit for, multi-division world champion. He could easily be put there. I think for my list, all of those fighters, when they fight next, they're going to fill out this list. I think 9 and 10 is undecided. You might not like that, but 9 and 10 for me right now in my pound-for-pound list, undecided. I think that probably I would throw Teofimo Lopez in either the 9 or 10 spot currently, because he holds 2 wins over 2 undisputed champions, beating Vasyl Lomachenko, beating Josh Taylor. I guess maybe it's not undisputed technically, it's lineal, but he beat the best guys in the division. And I think that that should mean something in a historical sense. His loss to Kambosos is looking like an anomaly more than it's looking like what we see fight in and fight out. That is my current standings in the boxing world. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Get involved in the conversation. Join the community. Let me know in the comments section, and I'm out.